Hi everyone, I'm Liz Brown Swanson with the great mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, Mayor John Cruikshank. Welcome to our RPV City Talk at the Trump National Golf Club. We're with the mayor to do your monthly update, and we know we have so much going on in this city right now, especially in the wake of what's happening with the Portuguese landslide. But with that, how are you doing?
No, I'm good. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of activity, as you mentioned, with the landslide, and our city staff has been very busy coordinating with the different agencies that are working to help us. And so, you know, for myself and the rest of the council, we've been busy, but I know our staff's been even much busier than us.
Right. I know you just met, like you do each month, with the leaders from the different committees and commissions. You had your mayor's breakfast where you were talking about all the issues going on in the city. Of course, landslide is foremost, the #1 priority, how to deal with it. And we are in a state of emergency. Can you expand more so the residents understand? You're asking now, calling on the governor for assistance with helping us move this along. People want to see this get fixed.
Well, right. And I think people need to understand that when it rains really heavy, things don't necessarily happen immediately. It sometimes takes several weeks for a rainstorm that's heavy like we've had to then take effect and move the landslide complex in a situation where we've seen. So what does it mean in terms of state of emergency? So when the heavier rainstorms occurred, the governor did declare a state of emergency due to the unprecedented rain. There were several counties included in that state of emergency, and Los Angeles County was one of them. But for us to ensure that our city and the landslide complex gets focused on and we can move forward with some of our projects, we specifically asked the governor to declare a state of emergency for the Portuguese landslide complex. We know that the activities that we're doing, we can get potential financial relief for the work that we're doing and the homeowners are doing and the 2 abatement districts are doing. So
right. So I mean, back in October, our city council declared a local state of emergency because of this unprecedented accelerated movement that we used to see the landslide complex area, which is, I don't know how many acres. I've seen different numbers out there.
I've heard 400 acres
right,
or
which
so.
is made up pretty much what we could call Abalone Cove, Portuguese Bend, of course, and Klondike Canyon. The major landslides within our city that you're always working on, and that movement we've seen, you know, several homes have been red tagged, the roads, Palos Verdes Drive South is such a mess with all the movement, and of course utility lines are affected, we've got road closures, trail closures in the preserve, and now of course we were saddened by the news about the temporary closure of Wayfarers Chapel. I know you were there, you've been meeting with, the city's working with Wayfarers, the community is, to help them get through the fact that this treasure in our city had to be closed right now.
No, of course we were saddened to hear that they were closing Wayfarers, and it was voluntarily closed by the ownership there, but it of course makes sense because that national historic treasure that's here in our city is a redwood structure that has mostly glass, and of course with any type of movement that we've seen and the movement there at the church and the chapel, you're having glass that's getting cracked, and even some of it has fallen. And so just for safety reasons alone, they've had to close indefinitely. But we've told them that we're going to be doing everything we can to help them get back open as soon as possible.
All right. And of course, the Wayfarers Chapel, the famous glass chapel, which was built by Frank Lloyd Wright's son, Lloyd Wright, they just last December received a National Historic designation, which on the one hand might be very helpful to help bring funds and resources to preserve this now. The demand's even more so, I think, too, right? And we know about all the weddings that happen there and all the wonderful celebrations, and just the fact that it plays such an important part of our history to make sure that that can reopen. We're all there hoping this happens.
Of course. I mean, I remember many years ago, I attended a wedding there with someone that was my supervisor at a company I worked for, and I remember being there, and I hadn't even lived in Rancho Palos Verdes at that point, and I realized looking out at Catalina and seeing the beautiful structure, and it's so graceful.
For you being mayor right now at this difficult time of what's happening with the landslide, what is your message overall again to the community that's listening and wanting to? We just, you can't, you can slow the landslide down, but part of it is Mother Nature. We've had unprecedented rains. I mean, we could only do so much.
Like any type of critical issue or emergency like we're in, we ask for the public to continually be patient, but also be aware of their surroundings. If your property or your home has some type of structural damage and you're unsure about that, I know that many people understand the risk of the city coming in and inspecting and potentially yellow tagging or red tagging. Just so people know, Wayfarers Chapel, our city did inspect. They did find several issues, but the city did not yellow or red tag that structure.
Right.
It was done by the management there, not by the city. So we do not want any of our residents to be living in an unsafe structure, and so we ask that our residents do contact the city and have some assistance so that they're living safely.
I know every week too, the city staff, stakeholders, community members, wayfarers, leaders, they're all meeting weekly just to keep on top of it. The city geologist is part of that.
Right.
And everybody is just taking...
Anyone that wants to participate is involved with that. And we do have a large group of people that are on there on every Wednesday afternoon. And it's an open and honest discussion about how we can do things, how we can take action. We've talked about in our city council meetings that there's been reports dating back to the 1960s, 70s in regards to what to do. I mean, you could study things to death, but at this point we've had 2 years of unprecedented rain. And so we need to move forward with projects, and that's where we want to be very soon.
You've got, what do they say, North America's longest, most active landslide. This has been going on for decades, and just in the last 2 winters has really picked up the pace. So thank you for all you are doing. And one more thing is I do want to mention that the Wayfarers does have a fundraiser going on, and we have it listed on our city's website, the GoFundMe page, to help bring restoration, and they call it a rescue mission now, to save the chapel.
I hope people support them in that effort.
And again, we always say the city website, because anything to do with the landslide, updates, information, you go right to rpvca.gov. It's all there, and you are doing a great job in informing the community. But there's so much more to talk about happening in our city, and so being public safety is always a top goal for our council. At your last council meeting, you decided to support funding more upgrades to our ALPR camera recognition system, automated license plate recognition system. Talk about that and how important that is.
Well, it's hugely important. In fact, in meeting with the city manager, he also said we're going to be adding those smile, you're on camera signs. I hope those aren't too hokey, honestly, but it does remind people that when a criminal enters the Palos Verdes Peninsula and any part of our peninsula, once their license plates are picked up, and if it's a vehicle that's on the the wanted list, or if it's a stolen vehicle, that immediately goes to the sheriff's department and they're notified, and that has been a huge success for our city.
Yes, it's working, and I think they get thousands of hits on vehicles that are stolen or not even registered, and that all leads to them solving cases. And
that's great.
So the other thing is that because the sheriff did come to the city council meeting and bring the stats, any trends that you're hearing about with crime statistics that concern you, burglaries, traffic violations, anything that you want to mention to the community right now?
Well, those all concern the council, and of course crime is still too high. It's always too high. And our resources are limited, and it's not even if we had more money to spend on it, but the sheriff's department overall is down 1,200 officers. So it's not just a Rancho Palos Verdes issue, it's countywide right now, and of course criminals don't just travel around Rancho Palos Verdes, they travel all through LA County, so it affects all of us. I would say that certainly the burglaries and also traffic violations, people that are tailgating, they are speeding, they're not paying attention to driving, and they're looking at their phones and texting. And we have a lot of senior citizens that live in our community, and their level of being able to react the same as someone that's younger might not be the same. So we need to be aware of our senior citizens. We need to all slow down, be more patient with people. I think that we lose sight of that, and we got to get to the soccer game or the kids to school, and you forget that someone else's kids are out there and you can hurt or kill somebody. So we've all got to drive safer, and we're not going to have enough sheriffs to watch every single car driving through our community. We just don't. And so we need to all start to act more responsibly as adults ourselves, and to stop tailgating people and to calm down. And you're going through the landslide area and you've got what we call the ski jump, and people are driving at 50 miles an hour through there, and you're putting yourself at risk when you do that, because that's a really dangerous area. And so, not just your personal safety, but the safety of others, we all need to be more cognizant of that.
And you mentioned about even adding more resources with the Sheriff's Department because they are understaffed. One thing our City Council has been proactive is in an effort to supplement Sheriff services and maybe also reduce the expense of the contract that we have with the Sheriff's Department. We are creating right now is a pilot program for a public Safety Division.
That's right.
Which will involve using in-house trained public safety liaisons. It's all now coming together. This was a topic at the council meeting, your last council meeting. Explain the need for this division, the goal behind it, and how this will work, because it'll be collaboration with the Sheriff's Department as well to make this a success.
Well, the only way it will work is if we are collaborating with our Sheriff's Department, because they're our primary public safety officers, they're our police force. But what the public safety liaisons can do for us are things that, like parking tickets and other type of things that are, you don't require the level of sophistication and training like a sheriff would typically have. And they could do the things that typically a sheriff would end up doing and taking them away from other higher level crime and that. So once again, our Sheriff's Department is spread thin, and the cost to our city is fairly large. I mean, it's almost $9 million per year, and our budget's 39 million. So it's it's 25% of our budget.
Right.
And so safety is a big part of it, and the more of the smaller crimes or parking violations of that, if a sheriff doesn't have to go do that and we can send someone out from our city staff, why don't we do that? Well,
it'll be interesting to watch this program unfold and start to help have an impact on public safety for us. As we continue to still talk about public safety, there is a peninsula-wide safety drill that's been planned for a while now. It's going to happen in April during Earthquake Preparedness Month. I know we can go to our city website to find out more, but just overall, what you're hoping the impact will be of doing this and the need to do it.
Well, you don't want to find out that whatever you're planning for doesn't work while the actual emergency is happening. So our city staff and Jesse Villalpando, who is basically our leader when it comes to all that stuff, he's amazing. He's going to be leading the city staff and team to run through a simulation of, I believe it's an earthquake drill.
Yes, because it's going to be also coinciding with earthquake preparedness.
Right, and you know, we talk a lot about the landslide, but man, I mean, our city is still, we still have our wildfire threats, we still have our earthquake threats. And so we need to be prepared for that, and our city staff does a good job of trying to be proactive. And one of the things that's very unique about the Palos Verdes Peninsula is that we really only have one road that circles around the entire peninsula, and so how do people know where to go and evacuate, and who needs to be coordinating with who? And emergency preparedness is very complicated, and so you want to work out all those bugs prior to an actual emergency.
Right. I know we witnessed it firsthand, right, with what's going on in Palos Verdes Drive South right now. You know, they've been doing a lot of work on the ski jump, and you think about when it bottlenecks like that and what's happening with the land there being compromised, like how does even emergency vehicles get through and when things are happening? I know when the mudslide happened in the earlier rains in the month, right, we had to close down PV Drive South right by the Terranea intersection.
Right. That was unexpected.
I happened to get caught in that myself.
Yeah, it was unexpected. It just came down.
And so, and our crews, it was amazing to see how quickly they were able to clean up the mud and reopen the roads. But again, so all of that, and communications too. You know, sign up for those alerts. I know I was immediately on my phone when I realized, you know, that we weren't moving in traffic, what was going on, and you can see the alerts from the city to let you know what's going on.
We have the Know Your Zone, the
yes.
pvpready.gov.
I'm sure you have that app on your phone.
No, I do. Of course, I keep track of coyotes as well, so that's in the other app.
You keep a track of a lot as mayor.
Well, I get a lot of coyotes in my area.
Yes, yes.
But no, it's important that people actually do know their safety zone, right? Because when there is an evacuation order, we don't know what type of emergency we're going to have. And sending people all in one direction, it might be best just to stay at your home and be safe there. So, you know, understanding that is important too. So people need to continue to be ready for the next earthquake or fire.
We always talk about issues on the agendas of city council meetings each month, and Green Hills Memorial Park representative was back before you doing their annual review process. What was the focus of the report from Green Hills, and how did the Green Hills do?
Well, so Green Hills, so Nick Resich was there. He represents ownership, and the goal of it was to make sure they're in compliance with their conditional use permit, which means that there's noise and traffic and safety and other issues that they need to be in compliance with. And I'm going to give them a huge shout out, because when I first started in the council, there was a lot of anxiety from the neighbors in that area. And Green Hills took it upon themselves to start having community meetings and communicating with their neighbors and letting them know what's happening, and having a hotline available, so when something is not right, or the residents feel like if it's noise or traffic or whatever it is, they knew they could have someone to call and they could go and take care of it. And they've done a great job of that. And so Nick was there. No one else from the public was there. There were no violations. And so it's just nice to see that when our businesses and our community can get together and kind of solve problems without always having to involve city government. And so hats off to them.
There was a period of time that public comments for it would take a long time with residents from Green Hills neighbors coming to complain.
They were always at our public comments and there for a few years, actually.
And the optics are much better now. You know that things are doing well. And Green Hills is a great partner with our city.
Yes, they are.
Another partner with our city is Southern California Edison. And you have been getting regular reports from the utility about how they're doing handling power outages in the Grandview Estates neighborhood. This came up a while ago when one of our council members as well lives right in Grandview and was experiencing, you know, power outages were, you know, people were being left unsafely, it felt like, for days, right? And that has changed because they are working on remediation efforts there. Talk about what you heard from the Edison representative and a positive report from them. And
this issue was brought forward by Council Member Seo, Paul Seo, and but he also mentioned in his comments that even though Grandview is important to him because he's lives in that area, he represents the entire city, and so it's important that Edison and all of our utility companies are responsive to things that affect all of us, like power outage for our entire city. And Edison, you know, they came in at the beginning of this whole thing last year, and the comments were very direct. I think that's the one thing that I love about this city is that people don't necessarily mince their words around here. Like, it's not like we're talking like one politician to another trying to be cordial and nice. I mean, people just get right to what the problem is.
Yeah, including Council Member Seo.
Well, right, and I appreciated that too. I mean, I think that people, whether they're an elected official or not, I think we should all talk honestly and openly about what the issue is, because if you're just sugarcoating things and talking around the edges, you never get anything done. And so Councilmember Seo was direct, and Edison, they heard a lot of harsh things, but they stepped up and they have made changes. And so, you know, we appreciate them as well. And we've had the same with other utility companies. Cal Water's been in that position. Cox Communications definitely was in that position during the COVID, and that's how we solve problems here in this city.
No, you're right about that, especially like Cal Water now with the issues with, you know, utility lines breaking because of the landslide, and you're hearing the residents comment because the water's the problem with the landslide, for example, but you have, you know, there's also the issue of what's happening with leaks and detecting leaks.
100%.
And working on that as then that's the
well, and you're right, and when Cal Water heard that about the detection, I know you live over in that area, so it's really a big concern to you and your family. But they went out and found technologies that they could look for sudden breaks in the line or slower leaks in the line. They looked at the water lines and which ones need to be brought above ground now because of where you get the most movement. And they came up with a plan, and they did the plan, and they still have other things in the works. And so, you know, they do have a monopoly too, right? So they're the only water company, so we've got to rely on them. But I think we're fortunate. Our utility companies seem to do a good job of stepping up when they need to. And
to circle back, we were talking too that all this is coming from when you hear from the community too, and what their concerns are with utilities, and they come to council, whether it was for the landslide and the water or what's going on with power outages. You're listening, and you're also, beyond taking notes, you're taking action.
When you live in a community full of lawyers, engineers, and really other smart people, these are people that question and they want answers. And so for me, I know that if I'm saying something I know is BS, I'll just get destroyed. If I know it, and I'll say it. And if I don't know it, I'll say I don't know it, I'll find out, because our residents are way too smart.
And since you're talking about how bright our community is, I think this is a perfect segue to talk about Rancho Palos Verdes is about to get a lot brighter on the 4th of July because I had to do it. The city council did approve bringing back a drone light show for the 4th of July. You did it for the 50th. So this is exciting. Talk about this.
Yeah, we're upping the number of drones, and of course, the more drones, the more dramatic the show is.
Yes.
And so we're going to continue to now do our city 4th of July celebration later in the day so that we can enjoy a drone show. Of course, earlier in the day, there might be a pie eating contest.
Yes.
And hopefully they do the watermelon rolling. I love that. I mean, I love watching the kids do that.
But the mayor loves even more the pie eating contest because he's been the champion of it year after year.
This will be my last year.
Yeah. He takes a big bite out of council member Dave Bradley, that's for sure, because Dave just
I'm going to try to see if we can
comes up with pie in his face, but not winning.
We need to convince probably council member Seo to step up to the plate, because he'll still be on the council when I'm gone, and so somebody needs to carry on that tradition on the council.
And if you want a real challenge, let's see if we can get our city manager, who doesn't eat sweets but makes them all the time, let him be part of that pie eating contest. It would be really fun to watch.
That would be fun to watch.
All right. Well, I won't say I'm rooting for you, but I was part of your first pie eating contest that we had right at RPVtv, and it was
you were always a backer.
Yes.
But I've had detractors. So.
You know what you do to them? You throw pie at them.
I do.
There you go. We're talking about the 4th of July drone show, but really the day to talk about is today. After we do this, you are going to be at the Ladera Linda Community Park grand opening. The park is spectacular. By the time this is airing, it all will have taken place. Your message on opening day of the Ladera Linda Community Park after years of this, waiting for this moment.
Well, my message is that this is something that is important to the entire community, certainly the south and the eastern portion of our community, where they really didn't have a community center. A lot of people that live on the east side of Hill would utilize the Bogdanovich Center in San Pedro, which is a part of our community, but it's not part of our city. And so this is going to be a great facility for our residents, whether it's yoga classes or art classes or our students going up and doing some hiking tours. I'm really excited, and really I'm proud of our city staff. They've taken a lot of comments and done a lot of hard work to get to something that is really an appropriate facility for that location. And I hope that the homeowners that live in and around that area can really enjoy the facility and really call it their own.
It is a marvelous park. I've been walking up, as you know, I live in Seaview right below it, and checking it as it's come along. And I'll tell you, if you go on the city's website and you can see how they took, photos of it daily to see how that became what it is with that panoramic view. And it's really it's really the footprint is so much smaller than what was there before. When you see it, it feels that way, the way they've really re-landscaped and everything about it. It's just beautiful, and I'm excited. And it's going to be another jewel to enjoy for generations to come.
Right.
And we'll see you up there on the swings. No, maybe.
I've always learned that the swings are not something for me. I'm a little more clumsy than the average person.
Maybe
I usually get my
class.
Fingers pinched on those chains.
Yes. Well, then maybe you better take a yoga class. All right. Well, on the subject of mayoral, and you'll be having the big scissors cutting the ribbon.
They've kept the big scissors away from me.
Oh, goodness. But mayoral activities, you've been very busy at council meetings, honoring people, as well as we had to say some so longs to some wonderful staff.
We did.
So talk about just some of the mayoral activities, and also a so long to one of our first city councilwomen, Ann Shaw.
Hearing that Ann Shaw was moving to the East Coast was obviously bittersweet, but she's moving there for family.
Yep.
And so that's the right reason, of course, and I'm sure she is going to miss us just as much as we're going to miss her. She was one of our founders. The things she's done for our community we'll remember forever, and not just for Rancho Palos Verdes, but also the Peninsula seniors and the work that she's done. Our seniors are super important to our community, and so we're going to miss Ann. A little quick fun story though, we told her we'd give her another one of the signs, Ann Shaw Way, and then after the meeting she came to our city manager and said, "Ara, you could cancel that order. I already have 2 signs."
I know,
so
that's great.
So she's still thinking about city finances as well. So
yes, she was actually, because we went to her house, RPVtv, after just to talk to her, and there it is, Ann Shaw Drive. Her sign is into her living area, which is her whole RPV wall, because she was active in the incorporation of our city. And congratulations, Anna. We're going to miss her, but you know what? She said RPV is always going to be her home. She's been here for over 60 years, or almost 60 years.
Nice.
And then, of course, we had
Ron Dragoo.
Ron Dragoo. You want to talk about some of our staff?
I'm a fellow civil engineer, and Ron and I have always been good friends. He's a guy that's, he epitomizes engineering and engineers because he's easy to approach. He's thoughtful at what he does, and so he'll certainly be missed in our community. I know that Ramsey, our Public Works Director, is trying to build up that staff, but he'll certainly be missed. Also, one of our senior accounting technicians, Selena Wright, has retired as well, and so it'll be, I didn't know her as well, but certainly I know she's a huge part of our team, and so she'll be missed.
Yes, yes. And then exciting that you received a very big check for our city.
I know.
From the Run for Miles organizers, which was the first annual race marathon we had that you ran in.
I did.
During our city's 50th last September. Talk about that amazing big announcement.
Well, they brought a check for $35,000, and it was for their inaugural event, and I think we can accommodate a lot more people this coming year. And I know they announced to do it one more time, and they used those monies, they gave it to the city so we could use that to repair the trails. And right now we've got 8 miles of trails that are damaged, so we can certainly use that money.
Right.
And so very appreciative. What a great event.
They were an incredible, they were a nonprofit that they set up to honor one of their family members, the late Miles Helm, who was an avid runner and loved RPV, and now they're making RPV even better.
They are.
So, and are you going to go back out there next year and get those sneakers polished up?
I might try to do all 10K.
There you go. Catch up with Councilmember Seo. He did the 10K.
He did.
As did our city manager.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to catch up with them. I'll stay pace for 5K, but I don't know. Ara is a prolific runner, so I will not be able to keep up with him.
And it's all along the coastline. And it's a family run as well as a walk, so everybody can get involved and come out and support. So it's September 28th. It seems like unbelievable to think about that, but mark your calendars. It'll be here before you know it. And we need to wrap up. Busy times. Mayor's final announcements for you.
Well, I mean, I know this airs in March.
Yes.
And so the hope is that everyone listening has gone out and voted or is going to vote on March 5th. I think it's important to our democracy that our smart residents get a chance to voice their opinion on different candidates, and so that would be my message. And
I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, Mayor Cruikshank, your name is on the ballot. You've been running for supervisor for your first time for the 4th District. Anyone that puts their hat in the ring for something like this, it's so admirable. Thank you. You know, you are so committed to the community, and we congratulate all the candidates that are on there, and obviously always wish you the best, and so grateful that for all you're doing, because where does that passion come from to serve? You have to have that
It comes from my family. It comes from my mom and dad, and they always loved the community. My mom was on the school board for 9 years as a kid, and there's nothing more enjoyable than giving back to your community, and I recommend that. And Mayor Pro Tem Alegria and I will be term limited out, and I'd say that any residents watching this and have a passion for being a part of your community, think about running for city council. And just getting involved. It's wonderful. We got to wrap it up at Trump National. Big thank you to the team here, because they let us come in here, and they are such a great part of our community. Okay, now as we wrap it up here, Mayor, there's still some more great events that we want to tell the community about before we leave. Well, outside of great events, we are canceling the March 5th City Council meeting. That's because that's election day. And then we do then have a workshop, a budget workshop that's on the 13th. We're going to be back in session with City Council and celebrating your birthday on March 19th. Go March 19th. That'll be awesome. Then on March 30th, we have the annual hunt extravaganza at the Ken Dida Civic Center. That's the egg hunt that gets hopping. It gets hopping. There you go. That's pretty clever. That's excellent. Sorry. And then, finally, this is one of the best. We have our whale of the day, and that one's on April 13th. It's our 39th annual Point Vicente. You're going to find the mayor there with his binoculars counting whales and counting on having a great time. They never let me in that area to count whales. I have to count with my naked eye looking at the whale. We can do that right here. And on that note, we're sitting here at Trump National, the most beautiful place to enjoy the ocean and take it all in. Thank you to the Trump team for letting us be here, of course. We will be back in a month, but we'll be at Terranea next time. Yes. And I appreciate all you're doing for the city. That's going to be a wrap for this edition of RPV City Talk with Mayor Cruikshank. I'm Liz Brown Swanson. Thanks for watching. See you next time.